All right. I can't think of a better way to start my day than with these two amazing gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, Orhan Macmillan here with Manfulness Living, part of our Manfulness Living Inspiration interview series. And if I can't get inspired by these two gentlemen, there is no inspiration left in the world. I have Torrence and Thurman Thomas with me. You know what? I can't even describe who they are, so we're just going to let them talk about it because there's so many different personas and names and everything, but it comes down to two of the most amazing men that I know, that I have known for a long time. And so I'm just so thankful, guys, that y'all are joining me today, and we're going to sit around and talk about some stuff and just see where it goes. I think we got a little infant running around that may join in, a dog on one side. I know mine's over here. So let's just go with it. But y'all introduce yourselves for those who don't know you.
All right,
so what's up, everybody? My name is Thurman Thomas.
Twin moment. We talk at the same time. It's okay.
Yeah. These things happen.
Describe, who we are and what we do. We're two brothers that, we work with each other. The way that I like to describe it is just like any other human, we wear different hats, whether we know it or not. Some people are not only whatever they identify themselves with, but they're also mothers, they're fathers, they're brothers, they're uncles, they're coworkers, they're business owners. You know what I mean? And so for some reason, we don't just a part of who we are. And we all have different panels and facets. So like most people, or unlike most people, we like to actually use our different facets and we actually come to the forefront and we, forward-facingly communicate what we do. We're in the business now of simplifying, we're just like you in this phase, we're streamlining. So the things that we're focusing on right now are, we are, of course, musicians, speakers, creatives, things like that, activists. I don't even like using titles like that because I feel like it's the Instagram bio that everybody uses with all the long titles and phrases and stuff like that to impress people. But I guess you'd say the bulk of the work and the passion of the work of what we're doing right now is that we are currently giving kids education and essentials to help them to navigate life's currents. And at this moment, of course, we're in the middle of this crisis. The biggest thing that's keeping us busy right now is we're feeding kids. And so that's an aspect of who we are. Creatively, we work with some big names, some little names, some big companies, some small companies, some cool companies, some not so cool companies. I don't want to rattle off names and stuff like that. But yes, we've been seasoned and blessed enough to work with some really cool people. And, we're excited to be in this new phase and excited to be talking to you too.
Yeah, no. So, he pretty much put it in a nutshell, but that's pretty much what we do. It's not so much what we do, but more so we live from who we are. So whatever that looks like, a lot of times it may look different. Like one day we may be producing a video and photo shoot for Teen Vogue. The next day we're in the studio trying to write songs. The next day we're helping to feed and serve kids. The next day we may be giving swimming lessons to kids through our organization. So it's kind of fluid. And from that, we've built a lifestyle around fluidity. So we can just flow in and out of whatever we need to do. And I think, unknowingly building it like that, man, it's like we live pretty stress-free lives. Of course, we have like our own challenges and stuff. Work is never easy. There's always that aspect of work that, it's like to do, but that sense of purpose is always there. Purpose is what drives us to do all the things that we do.
Well, one thing that strikes me immediately is that the fluidity of the different things you do. I'm curious as to, with COVID-19, right now we're at 8 or 9 weeks of the shelter in place. This is the first day that Louisiana is coming out of the shelter in place. That's where we're all in respective parts of the state coming from. I wonder, and I have wondered about this, that as we entered into shelter in place in our compartmentalized lives, that most people have, okay, this is my work, this is my home, this is my spouse, this is my family, this is my volunteer activity, this is my recreational activity. I wonder if for some people, all of that got ripped down in these 7 or 8 weeks where you were just in one space and whatever you were doing was confined to that space. And any thoughts on that, or any kind of reflections on that? How you
And that's good, man.
I
That's
think
good.
that this phase that we're in, it's almost like, since we're forced to be in it, perspective is everything, Ohan, as you know. How you choose to see it is going to affect the way that you feel, and then it's going to even more so affect your health. So the way that we look at it, it's all about perspective. This period, we see it kind of as like an incubation period.
Okay.
It's almost like a cocoon period for me, because it allowed me to have a lot of the focused time that I needed to change a lot of things internally that I might not have had time before, because we're running and gunning.
Excellent. That there's and that's what it's done for me. I mean, but by being in, and I always preface that by saying, I'm lucky in my circumstance. I'm lucky in my environment. And so even knowing that I don't not respect the duality and the other side of this for those that have suffered death and loss and pain and jobs and future and security and everything else. There's that duality. And I always honor that, because it's a real thing.
Yes.
And in that is, for me, I can only speak from my perspective, is it really allowed me this moment to stop with the distractions. I've talked with that before. I have filled in my life with lots of distractions, keeping me away from what I'm focused on, keeping away from present moment, keeping me away from uncomfortable conversations and all of those things. Well, all that got taken away when all of a sudden I am now confined in a space. And so that's what I'm hearing you say, is that in that space, it gave you a chance to reevaluate and to review. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like this forced everyone to kind of cut the fat in their lives. It really forced them to see like what relationships are important. What am I doing with my time that's fulfilling to me? What do I need to do? What's urgent versus what's important? And so I think the whole, and it's such a unique thing, and I think it's such a unique moment in history, because the whole world is doing this. It's not just one country, it's not just one state, not one neighborhood, but the entire world. We're all being affected by this in some way. So yes. I'm interested, months from now, years from now, decades from now, how this time is going to shape human history, how this is going to alter our interactions with each other. And then moving forward, what effects is it going to have? Is it going to be positive? Is it going to be negative? I think it's going to be positive. It's just a really, it's one of those moments in history where you're like, wow, we're living in it. Like we're in the middle of it.
Definitely in a crucial time in history. And I think that, again, it's about setting the right expectation for yourself. I'm not going back and expecting things to be as they were, because they're not going to be as they were. But the beautiful thing is that we have something new now. We have somewhat of a slate that has less things on it. I wouldn't say quite clean, but it has less things on it for sure. And we just
less things on it. And honestly, guys, I don't want to go back to what.
Oh my gosh!
I don't want to go back.
This is great.
I don't. For me personally, I don't. I'm there's so many things that I have been able. You said, when y'all said trim the fat off of it, that I don't need it. I really don't.
Right.
And it's weird to say, but I
don't think people to come to terms with. You know what I mean? Like once we start acquiring things, it's a hard thing to say and to look at yourself and say, well, do I really need this? Is this essential?
Yes.
And I think I commend you for that, because that's not an easy thing to do at all.
It's not easy for anyone. It's really not. But, again, it's looking at the duality of the situation and saying, okay, where am I going to be in this? And all that changes. There are days that were, the stressful anxiety days of, oh my gosh, I don't know. But then there's the other days of, okay, well, I'm good today. And, all of those kind of things involved. Mm-hmm. But, the thing is that I'm like you. I think, me personally, just me, I had said on several occasions, just internally, externally to friends and even online, that on the trajectory I saw us going down as humankind was not a good trajectory. Just the selfishness, the unkind, the impatience, the the corporateness of it, you know, with the mindfulness, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, and the stuff we do in the manfulness work is this climbing this ladder, all of this thing. It was the ugliness in the politics, the all of those things. You look at it from a distance, and I was like, this doesn't look good. And that was February. And so I truly do think this is an opportunity to reboot and to decide as humans and as humankind, how are we going to go forward from this? Because one thing we have seen is we don't need all of the things that we did have, that we thought we needed. Yeah. And 8 weeks is a long time to have that stripped away from you. So, you know, yeah, I mean.
Say how long? Share something. 21 days, 28 days to create a habit. It's like, we're past that.
So we're almost into a double habit.
I know, you know? I am, like, a lot of this is like normal for me. I'm okay with how life is. I'm kind of used to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
acclimated, for sure.
Yes, for sure. And so definitely coming out of this, my fear is that, you know, people are going to be too much in a rush to get things back to where they were. Things are not going to be the same. Don't look for what's behind. I think a lot of people have that wrong expectation. Just look for what is and be ready to adapt to what's coming. I mean, that's all you can really do. These will never be the same. I'll never go to a music festival or a concert and not think about, man, I wonder how many sick people are up in here. Like, people coughing on me, breathing on me in this confined space. It's hot. People touching me. I'm like, ugh. But it's like, you know.
I mean, back last year, it was fine for having sweaty people.
Right. Last year was fine. Right?
You know, whatever. Now it's going to be like, oh, no.
I don't know about all that. Yeah.
Because COVID-19 is going to be COVID-20. It's going to be something else. It is. I mean, that's just the reality of part of this, is that entering into this new millennia of virus and contagion and overpopulation and under immune set. I mean, all that stuff, under the food, everything as a collective planet. I've often said, I think this is just a trial. I think the real things come later. And that's scary.
Yeah, this feels like a test, for real, to be honest. Like, yeah.
A tremor.
It does.
And like,
yeah, it's like, oh, the earthquake's coming. And so, okay, we'll get, it'll be what it'll be. So with that, I wanted to talk to you guys, because you guys jumped in on the Manfulness Living from the very beginning, even when I didn't know what the hell it was. And I still don't really know what it is. But, mindfulness and, whether it's meditation or present moment or anxiety, all of those things, that was 2018. I can't believe it's already been, over almost 2 years now. It'll be October this year. It will be 2 years. Wow. And so, as that has grown and expanded, and for people that don't know, Manfulness Living is a program, a group thing that that kind of just came out of my own experience and experiences of understanding that guys need a place to share stuff that guys need to share with, confidentially, privately. I assumed everybody was like me, that had emotional, heartfelt conversations at the gas station, but apparently not a lot of guys like that, and many are not like that. But nevertheless, that there was a need for it. There was a need to be heard. There was a need to be seen. There was a need to have these places because of the unreal expectations that men have put on themselves over the years and stuff like that. So that's what this kind of, throw a little mindfulness in there, and it's evolved and it's continuously evolving. But I would love for y'all kind of share what your experiences with that have been, and, how you kind of use that. Because like you said, life still happens. So share me a little bit about your experiences with that, and how you use it in your life.
I'll say for me, like the whole experience, I think it was kind of similar and akin to some things that I've done before, but that unique experience in that environment with those people, I'm talking about the first time that I went. At that time, the time that I was in my life, like it was really life-changing. It was life-altering for the better. It's such a, just to have men speak, no holds barred. There are no answers. No one's giving advice. People are just talking from their hearts about their deepest, even darkest things that they deal with. Yeah. In an open space, a free and open forum. No one's feeling judged. No one's passing that vibe. it's just, you're just communicating. But one thing that I learned after going a few times is like, you know, I remember you saying something, it's like, you know, you're not here to get answers. You're here, like the answers are going to come from you. They're not going to come to you. So it was like a beautiful thing to see like the different generations in a room. Like you got the younger people, you have the people in the middle, kind of on both sides, kind of like you're seasoned with some wisdom, but it's like you still have like the perspective of youthfulness. And then you have the older people who are like, all right, look, you know, I've seen it, like I did it, I'm more settled. You're going to be all right. You know what I'm saying? This stuff happens. Like it is what it is. And for me, all those perspectives, you know, put together an amalgamation of a really special experience and environment to learn and to grow from, that's safe and that is, you know, I guess edifying all together throughout, you know?
Yeah, what I loved about it the most was that, and like you said, you pretty much summed it up very well. But one of the biggest things that stuck out to me was knowing that I wasn't alone. That was the biggest thing, that, wow, these men that, you know, on the outside and exterior, these are business owners. Some of these guys are really great business owners. These are, and they lead families. They have other things that they do in extracurriculars. And so listening to these men and being like, wow, you deal with that too, or you dealt with that, and now look at you. That was paradigm shifting for me, because it sounds so simple, but in our society, that is not a normal thing for a group of men. And then you took it a step further. You had a diverse group of men.
Right.
That is even more so key, because normally I would never talk to not say normally, forgive me how I say this, who cares? But I guess in the natural course of life, me walking up to a 65-year-old white guy and be like, hey, how's your day going? Living in South Louisiana isn't really, I mean, I really have no reason to do that. I'd have to have a reason to do that.
Let me add some. Right. Well, I'm gonna add some, because of the social construct that we have created in this country. Absolutely, you would not do that. Period.
Right.
Yeah. So the social construct is not because you choose not to, but because the institutional construct we have does not make that.
I didn't know how to answer that question. I'm like, how do I sound like I'm just for myself? But it's a construct. So because of what has existed in my worldview, I am less susceptible to go walk up to a random 65-year-old white man and start a conversation. But because,
let alone talk about some real stuff, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Talk about football, that's about it. But you know, we were talking about some in-depth things.
Right.
And to me, that was what struck a chord with me the most. Not only did I feel like I wasn't alone, but then number two, it was such a diverse group that it was something that, oh wow, like, you know, Black men deal with this, white men deal with this, Hispanic men deal with this. And so I thought it was beautiful, man. And
well, and another thing I remember that taking place is that in that vein of what you're talking about, that as African-American males and the other ones that were there, y'all were able to share some stuff with the white males that they were not familiar with.
yes.
That again, you're coming under this thing of, you know, bring your issues, bring your concerns, bring the things you want to talk about. And sometimes those are the things. And so you have this confidential, safe, facilitated space to do that. And so you can't get much more one-on-one in that than be able to say, because I remember there was a couple of times, you know, again, it's confidential, but the subject matter I can share. There was one gentleman that was discussing that as an African-American male. And the white gentlemen, the couple of white gentlemen there were like, had no idea, never thought of it from that perspective. You know, my privilege never made me think of things like that. So you're right. It absolutely, on multiple levels, is that. And the other thing, and I have yet to have a session that what you said doesn't come out. I thought I was alone. I didn't know others felt this way.
Yeah.
Every single one. And I'm waiting for it now. Like when I do one, like, you know, I'm like, all right, we got 7 minutes left. Who's going to say it? Come on, y'all got it. Let's say it. You can't break my.
And that
Absolutely.
to me, it puts everyone under a blanket of humanity, and that's one thing that I love about it.
What do you think that, guys? Why do you think that y'all are a little bit different? I mean, y'all came to the planet different, and it's a beautiful thing. And I did too. What do you think? Because I didn't fall under those social constructs of a typical male, much less typical white male. What is it that you think isolate? What is it that gets them into that place of isolation? What do you think?
Like if
And then they come to something like Manfulness Living and like, oh my God, I didn't know I could talk like this.
Yeah, I think it's the social constructs, like you said. Even I could only speak for my culture, so it's like in a black male culture, we're not really encouraged to really speak. It's a new trend in African American culture, especially among men, to actually want to seek out to express yourself and to talk about your feelings with other people openly. And in the past decades, probably centuries, that was something that wasn't ever really encouraged. The problems that you had, you internalize them, you keep them to yourself. You might go to church and you try to deal with it there. But even sometimes with that, a lot of specific answers and specific solutions, aren't really given sometimes. So, people are forced, and even in my position, we were forced kind of like to, I knew that men didn't talk a lot, but for some reason, I knew that emotional intelligence was important. And even as much as, you might date people and you might express yourself emotionally to a woman and you might say, oh my God, you're being soft. I'm like, well, what does that mean? You know what I mean? We have so many stereotypes that are projected at men that we have to act a certain way. So I think that's the biggest stumbling block that stops men from talking, stops men from sharing with each other, because we feel that, I don't know, one thing I did notice, and I do notice about men, is that, and I'm sure you notice too, men are kind of thing, you see it with kids a lot too, like young boys. They'll fight 1 second, they go to blows, the next minute be like, oh yeah, you want to get a snowball? Okay, cool, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Men have that ability to, we have that camaraderie amongst ourselves. We just need the opportunity and the reasoning to come together, I think. And you provide that with Manfulness Living. That's why I think it's so powerful.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think
one of the things, go ahead.
Yeah, it's pretty much like what Torrence said. These I don't know, it's just really like cultural like platforms that we just choose to stand on, and sometimes we don't know that this is like what we're standing on until we are presented or placed in an environment that is, more open. And communication works for everybody. Like, it's not like the light bulb just went off in 2018, like, oh, it's good for men to speak. What I mean? It's good for men to talk. Like, communication has been an essential of what it means to be human for eons. So I think bringing the importance and just talking about that. And then, to me, like, the safe space is the most important thing. Like, it wasn't real to me till I saw one of the guys out that were there.
That's what it was. I saw I got like a wedding or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm like,
like one of the older white guys.
Like,
and I was like,
hey, what's up, man?
I was like, what's up, man?
I got
we
you.
need
I got you.
With a handshake or like,
we looked at each other first, and then like we came back later. It's like, oh, so how you doing? Like, I know everything about you. I know your deepest, darkest secrets. You know mine. Cool. We're cool.
Because of that, I feel like it's a deeper connection. Like, some guys, I don't met them for 5 minutes, but I feel like they know me because I've been to the point to where I've really expressed myself so openly and bare with a stranger. And I'm just like, well, you know all my stuff already, so I know yours too. So
right. I can tell you what's happened since then. Kind of thing.
Look, I know you ain't gonna tell nobody, so I mean.
Right. You ain't gonna say nothing. There is something in that kind of came to me as you're talking with, the vulnerability and the exposure, like the exposure of it, that it's like, okay, I didn't die from this. I didn't die. I shared. I didn't die. I'm not, I still woke up the next day. Nobody came knocking. Nobody's blowing me up on social media or anything. Right. And you're right. There have been some very intense moments in there. There have been moments there, y'all, that I've had my back writing something that I'm like, thank God they cannot see my face right now, because I don't know what to do with this. It just got real. I just want to get him breathe a little bit, and we just dropped the bomb on what happened, and it's fine.
Like, people are so real. That's what I love about it. It's like that first guy that's in there. I remember ours, that like, it was a guy that actually was experienced with therapy. Yeah. So I think having him there, and it wasn't on purpose. It wasn't like he was planted there, but I think like
no, this is just totally, hey, y'all come, please, and it just happens, the dynamic of the gatherings and stuff.
Everybody was being like, well, I'm late for work sometimes, or
right.
Sometimes I don't like my work. He's like, pornography. photography. And I'm just
kaboom. And I'm like, wow.
People start laying the big stuff, and then everybody else starts to open up, and it's like, oh, I do this.
Yeah, it was a floodgate, and that's where, you know, coming from a childhood with, you know, abuse, it helped me, because you just don't move your face. You're like, he just dropped the big
say,
bomb.
man, you know, I just like to torture little animals, and I'm like,
what?
All right, well, so and then so what does the group think about that?
It's like,
oh man, that's
like, all right, look, cool. Everything,
yeah,
like,
there it is.
Cool. Just say,
you know, and since then I brought it virtual, and I had a lot of reservations about that. I was just like, you know, well, it was two things. As I knew that something needed to expand to reach more people, and the way that we originally did it in a living room or office setting, 10 people, right? 10 local people. And so my heart and my mind always wanted to go virtual, but I never had the incentive until COVID-19. I was like, either I got to do it virtual or I got to stop it because nobody's coming around. And so I've done 3 virtual ones, and they work. I was concerned that people would not talk or that people wouldn't come. I've had people from Alabama. I've had people from Vermont. I've had guys that normally they're not coming geographically. And so it lets me know that this can work. And the conversations and the dialogue has been just as real as it was in person. The only thing missing is the beer, the wine, and the food, right? And but otherwise it is. So I'm glad for that. I really am. I think that's another thing that came out of this COVID-19 is that so many of us now, I was accustomed to using Zoom for my job and work, but now it's a verb. I think it's going to be a verb.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So
stock. Yeah.
It's going to open that up.
Right.
Another thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is, so specifically with TankProof, with your nonprofit where you teach young kids, majority people, young boys of color, how to swim. And that's been several years now that y'all have had that.
Man,
so
9 years, man. Yeah.
9 years?
Yeah.
It's a lot of kids, man. It is. And so I'll let y'all talk a little bit about TankProof, and also being in that realm of youth. Being in your age now, you're able to see things, and especially with the quantity of youth you've been through. Just talk a little bit about what you've seen, and honestly, the way that mindfulness and things like that can actually help kids and on the early stages of, and then moving into adulthood. So share a little bit about what TankProof is, what y'all been doing with that, and some of those things, please.
All right, so we started TankProof 9 years ago with the idea to help a few kids to give them swimming lessons. We knew the stereotypes because we are Black, but everybody says Black people can't swim. So we did the research, and we're like, oh, there's actually stats to prove that. And so
right.
We automatically had the desire, okay, can we do something about this? And so we decided to do something about it 9 years ago. Fast forward, through the 2,300 kids later.
Wow.
And now with this COVID-19 crisis, it put us in a position where we had to pivot, and we had to pivot fast. And so I'll just explain this to you. So the last 2.5 years, it makes sense to you because you know my mother. For all those that don't know Miss Connie is probably one of
you should know Miss Connie. You really should.
Most pleasant.
Absolutely. Was sweetest, beautiful, kind, genuine, authentic, real people I've ever met. And that's i.e. why her twin boys are like they are. But go ahead, please.
So my mom, she had just retired. And so she, like 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And so she was like, she really didn't say she needed something to do with her time. But in my head, I'm just like, all right, Mom, what do you do? And she's like, well, I just started picking up food and giving it to people that I know that needed it. And I'm just like, all right, Mom. She's like, oh yeah, would you mind just including the food stuff for the TankProof stuff? I'm like, Mom, we do swimming. This food stuff is not a thing. It's not a thing. We do swimming, right? And okay, so we do this, and she's been doing it the last 2.5 years. And so she does it with 2 of our friends. And so she picks up from like companies like Whole Foods and like other restaurants in town, and she'll distribute it to like homeless shelters, group homes, foster homes, things like that. The people that need the food, so they'll go to these restaurants, get their extra food, and bring it to them. This is still good food. It's not expired. It's well prepared, just like it would be at the restaurant. But now we're able to give it to people that really need it. And so she was doing that, and we really paid no attention to it. We're just like, look, this is your little side project to keep you busy and whatnot. I understand.
It was a side hustle, Miss Connie's side hustle.
You're just doing your thing, right? Enjoy yourself, knock yourself out. Yeah, have fun.
Right.
Use the 501c3 as much as look. Go ahead, just
use it. Go ahead, have fun, knock yourself out. So she started doing, but then she reported the numbers and stats that she had, got from the amount of food that they had moved weight wise, and it was like over like 2.5, almost 3 tons. And I was like, I said, we might have something with this. You have my attention now.
Yeah.
But we still didn't know how to work it into the brand of TankProof. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we just kind of sat it. It was just her and a few of our friends. Like, they just wanted to do it, and they were like consistent. And I'm like, all right, yeah, y'all just handle that, and it's great, it's cool. But we didn't know how to put it into like the swimming portion, because to be honest, the swimming portion was like, that's like the it for the organization. You know what I mean? So
it's
like,
the brand of the organization. It's
exactly.
the mission of the organization.
Exactly.
How do I fit that into this mission without doing mission creep? I mean, honestly, that is it.
Right? We had to literally change. We had to alter our mission. And so,
because of COVID-19, right?
Yes.
We had to change the brand ethos, and it forced us to pivot so fast that we're like, because, I'm like, how do I fit this food stuff to where it makes sense to people? That's the biggest thing. And so that's when I got the mission statement. TankProof's mission is to give kids essentials and education to navigate life's currents. And so we use the word current because current is, it helps with the water, but also it alludes to the water in our history of, water aquatics and things like that, and safety, but also whatever is current in your life. If you are hungry and that's currently your issue, we will help fill that need for these kids.
That is an essential, right? And education through swimming lessons. Like, swimming lessons to us, knowing how to swim is essential for everyone, and it's a life skill. And so, once we were able to craft this new ethos during this COVID-19 crisis, I'm like, okay, all right, now is the time. Like, if you haven't, this is the time to do anything. Like, this is the time. This is the time. So we're like, all right,
we got it running. So one of our restaurant partners reached out to us and like, wow, we see kids are out of school. Obviously, the school is shut down, and where we from? I'm from the hood. So I know that kids from my neighborhood, they're in no way are they walking to the school to go get lunch miles, then walking back. They're just not eating. And so one of our restaurant partners, they reached out to us and like, hey, look, we want to give you guys, we started out with like 100 meals a week, Thurman, or like 200 meals?
200 meals a week, yeah.
200 meals a week, and now we're doing 4,000 a month?
Oof.
1,000 a week, over 1,000 a week, 1,000 a month, yeah.
And this is food that's being given. There's no fee involved with this on the receiver.
We figured out there's a couple models. Yeah, there's a model. So some of the food is donated. But then we figured out, okay, well, we can support small business restaurants during this time. The ones that are struggling, the ones that aren't the big chains that have lines wrapped around the building for drive-throughs.
Yeah.
What if we support these people? So
what if we can give them some money to give us some food?
Yes.
Which helps them stay.
And it's completely holistic. You get it. So we're not only helping small businesses and the economy, but we're also feeding kids as well. So it's like multiple needs that we're handling at one time.
Yeah. I'm just going to sit with that for a minute, because there's just so much in that. There really is. And the fact that because of this, that it expanded a successful nonprofit's mission to expand into something else in the moment of the need. Wow. That's some good stuff. I didn't even know that. I really didn't. I knew there was some food going on and stuff like that. And okay. All right. And, by opening that up to the essentials, it's still, that opens you up for a lot in the future. It really does.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
It creates even more room for growth for us. And so, because we were doing things already, like we're already doing we did 2 Christmas toy drives last year, a couple of things here and there that we would do for the kids that were special. But, really didn't know how to really put this aspect of what we're doing into the brand of TankProof itself. And so, it was really go time. I remember we sat on it, and when the words kind of came together for it, we're like, okay, boom, now this makes sense to where we can forwardly communicate this to people.
Well, and I imagine too, you brought TankProof as an organization into an audience, into a market that didn't know who you were before, so that then you're able to come back, and it will be soon enough. You're still going to be able to do that. You're going to have to change how your model is of the number of kids and all that kind of stuff, but that's coming back. Then you've expanded what TankProof, the original TankProof concept is, to an audience that didn't know who they were before or who y'all were before.
Right.
You know, I think that's something that's just, and I've thought about this a lot, and I'm still trying to figure, is what is the new, with my marketing company background, what is the new model going forward? What is the new way of doing business? I think we had already started to do that, and a lot with, and I hate typecasting, but a lot with the millennial generation, understanding that they spend their dollars not only local, but with local that has community impact. I mean, there's data on that, and I'm not making this up. So there was already that movement, but with this that's taken place, what does that mean for small businesses going forward in how they market themselves in this new era of consumerism, right? Because we don't even know what that's going to look like, but we do know that the system that so many of us believed in failed. It just failed. It failed. So what is that going to be when it rebuilds? What is that going to be when it comes out? You know, Chase Bank is an ideal example of corporate America gone wrong, you know, with them saying their big dollar things, big dollar clients, and leaving out who they were supposed to be working with as well. Like you said, you mentioned earlier, like what's going to be 6 months, 9 months, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what is that going to look like looking back on this experience? So it does do that, you know, and us as entrepreneurs and us as people, voices in the community, you know, it'll be important and responsible for us to be able to relay those messages about what is that new market looking like. And
so I would say that we really don't have answers like that. I never want to say that I'm an answer guy.
Oh, I don't have answers. I ain't got no answers, but I'm good with the question.
Yes, I know. You're excellent with the question. So this is what I'm noticing. I can tell you about what I'm seeing. So what I'm seeing is that effective is the new rock star.
Okay.
What do I mean by that? I think whatever people are doing, for example, you have to find a way that, number one, you have to attach to community. A personalized aspect and touch is needed more than ever right now. And number two, people are going to be wanting convenience more than ever. So if you can tackle those two things, if you can handle community, you have to insert community into your brand.
Okay.
And you have to insert convenience into your brand. I feel like those two things will help make a lot of businesses navigate a little bit easier, if that makes sense. Because a lot of businesses, because people are going to want to work, as you said, with the millennial generation, as that generation pretends to grow more mature in age, people are going to want to work with brands that are doing things to help mankind. And the beautiful thing about it is whatever industry you're in, if you're a human, you're doing something to help mankind. I don't care if you're cleaning a toilet. I don't care if you have an oil refinery. I don't care if you make paper towels. I don't care if you make T-shirts. You're doing something to help humanity. So
well, let's see. Let's bring something out of that. They're doing something to humanity.
To humanity.
Now, rather than helping humanity.
Bad, yes, is.
Let's pivot on that one. But you're doing something. So if you are standing on this planet, you are doing something involved with humanity.
Yes. And I think grassroots effort is going to come back too a lot. I think things are going to be coming, I use the word again, but not as like national, regional based, but it's going to be more community based, if that makes sense. The circle is kind of getting smaller in a sense, but also expanding at the same time with the advent of using things like Zoom and social media and things like that. But it's a smaller world because you can't travel anywhere. And because you can't travel like that, it makes, I don't know, it almost is making me more aware of my community, man. Like, we're going to these places, Orhan, oh my God.
I've never been. They've been right down the street, but it's like.
Right down the street from me is the third world. Yeah. And it is insane. And, we have an opportunity to kind of be, we are on the front lines during this thing because we've been working since the whole crisis, you know what I mean? Risking our own health to be out there to help these kids. And like, when we go to these neighborhoods, certain neighborhoods, and we go into these homes, I see there's so much work that needs to be done. And I feel like, I look at my brother, this is just my parish. And I feel like we are not doing enough. Right. I'm like, we're feeding these kids, but how can I feed all these kids? Because I know that when I went to this neighborhood today, there's some neighborhoods that didn't get the attention that we went to. So it's like, oh my God, this is just my small parish in Louisiana. I can't imagine other metropolitan big cities, the scale of, impact and support that a lot of these communities need. Like, oh my God, I'll tell you some stories. Like, we went to this place yesterday. I'm not gonna say the name of the neighborhood, but man, Orhan, when I say like it was just like the people, it was heavy drug use. It was like it was garbage everywhere. Dog, cat feces everywhere. I saw a cat with like one eye, like just got attacked, like all kind of stuff. Like it was crazy. And these little girls, we met these two kids, and they're just like the sweetest little girl. And the beautiful thing about children is that they're not aware yet of like their conditions and things like that. So these two kids are acting like any other kid. They're like, but I'm just like, oh my God, you are living in a rough situation, but they don't know otherwise. You know what I mean? And for me, my heart goes out to, situations like that. And it's not our job to save the world and whatnot, but it's our job to support and to, like I said, we're here to give education essentials to help these kids navigate life's currents. If I can do that, that means that we're being impactful. I feel like one of our gifts is that taking our individual gifts and using it for good. That's the only thing that I want to teach people. Use what you have to change your own world, to change your own community, to change your own, circle of people that are around you.
We all have something that we can do.
Yeah.
We all have something that we can do to make our world, our immediate sphere of influence better. And I think if everyone focuses on that, who knows where we'll be after this.
Yeah.
I mean, so
well, you said something. We don't need to change the world.
Right.
We simply need to affect positively our sphere of influence.
That's it. That's it.
Really it. And if each of us did that, we would change the world. And I think, I go back to the 80s. I hearken to the 80s. I was an 80s kid. And, we are the world. That was a great concept then. But I think in that conceptual thing of saving the world, it's impossible. But we can we can influence our sphere. And then therefore, if we're each doing that to some degree, it changes everything.
Yeah. You said it earlier, and I wanted to say it, but it really starts with the individual. Mm-hmm. And you said it better yourself. We can all hit these little circles and these little spheres. It's going to create waves and ripples that are going to be, massive for change. And
I hope that's one of the things that come out of this lack of isolation is that we go forward remembering what we think we taught ourselves in the fact of the importance of human connection, human, connection with each other in the streets, with the lady and the man at the gas station, grocery store, mail person, all these other things that, nurse, everything that we've been told. I hope it doesn't, and I don't think it will. I really don't. I don't think it's going to fall back into the status quo narrative. I think the narrative has changed. It has to be changed.
Some people don't get overly hypochondriatic, even though it's going to happen. And, some people, like, they freak out, you know what I mean? But that's just the reality of what it is now. You got to wear your gloves, got to wear your mask.
Like what you were saying, like, that's the duality of it. Like, I can't play with it because it is very real. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's just navigating that. And then I think overall just being sensitive, but I think if people come out of this knowing that you can do something, like you can do something, there's something that you can do.
Yeah.
And, it starts with the desire. It starts with seeing other people do it. Like what we want to do is that we want to just be a match to light other people's fires. You know what I mean? Like we want to be the match to light other.
That's pretty good, man. It's pretty good. Yeah. I like that. I never heard that.
Yeah. I mean, that's
write that one down. That's going to be it.
Like, I just look at those guys doing it and like, no, we want you to do something.
That's the thing. I'm not trying to feed all these kids now. I'm like, no, somebody got to do something because we're going to Houston next week. So, we have a lot of friends in Texas and they've been begging for us, please bring this here. We have kids that need help in Houston. They see the work we're doing, with TankProof. They're like, please come here, please come here, please come here. We're like,
to be honest, we shouldn't have to go.
Yeah, we should have it here.
You know what I'm saying? To be honest, you know what I mean?
Well, is there a way that you can go to teach the model? And
yes,
not
that's what we're doing. Exactly what we're doing. Exactly what we're doing. Yeah.
The parable, teach a man to fish, whatever, feed a fish or something like that. But bring the model in, and then y'all do this because I'm sure it's not a complicated model. It's a very simple thing. And that's another thing that keeps coming to me through these conversations and through COVID. Simplicity. We make things so overcomplicated. Everything we make overcomplicated. We make our lives overcomplicated. And the truth of the matter is, it's very simple. It can be very simple And that's this is breaking it down to the simple format of here's how I have this resource, this need, and I'm just simply connecting that process.
Man, and I think that simply like sums up this whole thing, man. Like, you know, this has been great. Like, I'm excited personally to see like where Manfulness Living is going.
Good.
I'll proudly say that I'm a product and a proud supporter.
You're what do they call it? Early board member.
Yeah, early board member, early adopter.
Well, you know, you guys, thank y'all so much. And, you know, in my heart, brothers, in my heart. And we'll be circling back in a couple weeks and doing another one. I want to hear more about. Let's come back after Houston. Let's have another conversation.
Oh yeah.
Do it.
Much love, and you know, Miss Connie, love you, babe. Miss you, miss that smile.
Right now,
and I cannot not end without. Where's that little baby that just popped up? It's like
she went outside. That was good.
She went outside. Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt, but you can't just not acknowledge that, gorgeous.
I know. Yeah.
So, gentlemen, thank y'all so much. Much love to you. Be safe, be well, and I look forward to talking again soon.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
Love you.
Love you.
Love you.